Welcome to episode 668 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. It's a solo episode this week. Richard's week turned crazy, so he'll be back next week. He should be for a pre-Thanksgiving episode for you all, but we've got a fun show for you this week. A lot of news to cover, especially with us missing last week due to me traveling. Sorry about that. So some good stuff. We've got Amazon. They're ending their Freevee service. They're also launching a new Fire TV line. On the audio side, Android is bringing us Auracast soon. I'm so excited for that. And Amazon is bundling audiobooks into one of their music streaming services. And on the gaming side, Xbox finally allowing us to stream some of the games that you own. And of course, we'll cap this off with some Black Friday deals that if you're listening to this show, you're going to be interested in some of these Black Friday deals. So stick around for the end of the show to hear those. Of course, everything we talk about, including those Black Friday deals, are in the show notes over at www.thedigitalmediazone.com. So don't miss anything by going over there. Okay, we like to start the show by getting into some listener feedback. We got a few, but most of them I'm going to save for next week when we have Richard. There's one or two of them in particular that I really want Richard around to talk about. But one came in from Jim, and he said, in your latest podcast, you mentioned that getting library books, ebooks specifically, onto your Kindle is clunky. And that's pretty much all I said. And Jim asked, how so? When I borrow one in Libby, it has a button for sending it to Kindle. When I click it, the book is automatically sent to my Kindle. It's a single button click, and it's easy to get to. Jim, he even included a screenshot for me. He's right, like it sure looks easy. I haven't done this in years. Maybe it used to be a lot harder, but definitely looks like if you're using the Libby app, which I think the Libby app is the way to go when it comes to borrowing ebooks and audiobooks from your local library, they're going to make it really, really easy for you. So, Jim, thanks for the tip, and we will look forward to getting more email and feedback from the rest of you in the future. If you do want to email us, it's entertainment20@thedigitalmediazone.com. So let's get into some video news, and it's all Amazon this week. So Amazon, they, for a few years now, have had a service that they've been operating called Freevee, Freevee. And Freevee is what we like to call around here a FAST service, a free ad-supported television service. So you open up the Freevee app on your streaming box or your TV, especially if it's an Amazon Fire TV, and there's just dozens or probably even hundreds actually of free live sort of channels for you to watch streaming video from. And of course, it's ad supported. That's how it's free. Freevee as a service and as a brand are going away. The good news is the content isn't, but there are some caveats there. So all of the content is moving into Amazon Prime Video. And so if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, like you're getting the free shipping and all of that from Amazon Prime, then everything that you've been watching on Freevee, you can watch on Amazon Prime Video. No extra charge, none of that. There will probably still be ads because last year, Amazon added advertisements to the Amazon Prime Video experience. But if you're not an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can still get access to a lot of this content. Maybe not all, almost definitely not all, but a lot of it will still be available, but still inside of the Amazon Prime Video app. So that's where you'll need to go to get all of this. But you don't actually need to be an Amazon Prime subscriber to use the app. I didn't realize that, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there that didn't realize that. So I wanted to call that out because even if you don't like Amazon, maybe you don't like, there's lots of reasons why you might not like Amazon and why you might be dropping Prime subscriptions and things like that. Even if that's the case, you can still get access to this. And while they haven't been super clear about when the service is actually going away and the content is migrating, or what content will only be available to Prime subscribers, it won't all be. And so one can hope that some of the things that you've been enjoying, and they did have some exclusive shows there, one can hope that they might still be available with the free model. But we won't really know until this actually happens in the coming months. So we'll keep an eye on that and let you know. Amazon also, this is kind of a weird one. They're launching a new TV series. And the weird thing is really just the timing. Like, no one releases new TV series in November. No one is releasing a new set of televisions right before Thanksgiving and Black Friday. But Amazon is. So what's up with these TVs? These are higher end TVs. These are really the top of the line. They're Omni TVs. And these ones use QLED mini LED backlighting technology. So mini LED, it's one of the best options out there, especially in terms of brightness. It's not quite as high up there in terms of like contrast and things like that as we get out of OLED TVs. But mini LEDs, like if you're looking for a higher end LED TV, mini LED is probably what you're looking at. And these are going to be fairly bright. They 1400 nits peak brightness. That's not crazy levels of brightness, but it's good. They also, importantly, have up to, depending on the size of the television, up to 1,433 local dimming zones. And I know that sounds super nerdy, but it's a really important stat to know about when it comes to televisions. The reasons we love the contrast ratio of OLED TVs is because in an OLED, every single pixel is individually lit, which means if you've got something that's completely black right next to something that's bright white, you can get a perfect separation in brightness because they're individual pixels. And that's not how LED TVs work. They're LEDs with some sort of backlight. But with these mini LEDs, they use much smaller LEDs for the backlights, which means that they can have far more of them on a panel, which means that while they can't turn off an individual pixel, they can turn off a really small chunk of pixels. So you should get less ghosting and just better contrast across the entire panel if you have more local dimming zones, because it's all about the ability to turn off more and more of those LEDs or just control the brightness. It's not just turning them off. And so the more local dimming zones, the better. And seeing TVs that are well over 1,000 local dimming zones, it's a huge step up from the early 2010s, late 2000s when there were like 6 local dimming zones. So that is a nice stat to see. Also, if you're a gamer, it's a high refresh rate panel, 144 hertz refresh rate, and it uses AMD FreeSync. So if you're going to plug your Xbox Series X or your PlayStation 5 into this, you will get that high refresh rate support, which everybody wants out of their high-end gaming systems, including PCs. If you have an AMD FreeSync enabled GPU, you can plug a PC into this too and also get the dynamic refresh rate. These TVs support Dolby Vision, And then, of course, because it's 2024, they have AI in them. In this case, it's AI-assisted intelligent picture mode is what they're calling it, that has enough sensors into the television to take things about the room in which your TV is placed into consideration, like the brightness of your room. Is it really dark in your room? Is the sun shining directly on your TV? It can take those things into account as it uses its algorithm to fine-tune the picture for you in real time. So if you're not someone who is typically going in there and perfectly calibrating your television, you just kind of want to turn it on and have it look good all the time, this AI-assisted intelligent picture mode ought to do a pretty decent job of that, but we'll have to wait and see what the reviewers say once they've gotten their hands on these things. It also has a new Fire TV ambient experience, so if you stop your video, whatever you're watching for a while, it will switch to displaying really pretty artwork or animations. Think about the things that we've always loved about the Samsung Frame TVs. You're going to get that sort of experience from this. So overall, sounds like a pretty good series of televisions. They offer them in sizes from 55 to 85 inches. And the price, it's about what you would expect. $820 for the 55 inch. If you want to go all the way to an 85-inch TV, that'll set you back $2,100. So they sound good. And if you're in the Amazon Fire TV ecosystem, like it's got all of that built in, it's got your voice assistant stuff built in. But is it the best option if you don't care as much about the Amazon Fire TV experience? I'm not sure that it is, especially right now. And that's what makes this so weird that they're releasing this in November, because so many other TVs are available on discounts for Black Friday. When we're looking at a little bit more value-priced TVs, we always end up going back to TCL. TCL offers really great features for less money than their big competitors like Samsung and LG and Sony. And so I would look at, if you've really got a couple of options from TCL. There's the QM75 series and the QM85 series. These new Amazon TVs, they're probably better than the QM75 series, but the 75 series is really cheap right now. You can get a 55-inch TCL QM75 for $500 right now because of Black Friday. Like I just said, the Amazon TV is $820. Is it $320 better? Not. I would be hard pressed to believe that it's that much better. But it's still not necessarily the absolute greatest TV that TCL's got to offer. So what about that QM85 series? Well, they don't offer it in a 55. The smallest it comes is a 65. But that one, it's a 240 hertz panel. It's got even more dimming zones, like over 3,000 dimming zones. It's $1,000 right now. So that's actually still less than the 65-inch Amazon TV. So if you're looking to buy a brand new TV right now, we'll have links to all of these in the show notes. You take a look at them and figure out what you think makes the most sense. And if you like Google TV more, well, the TCL experience has that built in. So there's a few options to go along with Amazon's new Omni Fire TVs. So let's move on to some audio news. This is where I get really excited. Android 15 just came out. You might not even have it on your phone, even if you have a Pixel phone. But that doesn't mean that they are taking a break in development of the next version of Android. In fact, you can get the Android 16 Developer Preview 1 now if you want to do the work of installing a developer preview on your phone, which maybe if it's your daily driver, you don't want to take that risk. But if you have a Pixel 8 or a Pixel 9 and some brand new headphones, there might be some reasons to do it. And that is that Android 16 will definitely bring support for what Android is calling audio sharing. This is the Auracast functionality that I've been talking about so much for the last year. It is and in this case, it's more of the Auracast producer. That's probably not the right word, but it's the ability to allow other people to connect to your phone through Bluetooth and have multiple people do it. So maybe you're vacationing and you are using like one of Rick Steves' guided audio tours of Paris, and you've got your whole family wanting to listen to it, but privately, because you're not annoying, you don't want to like be blasting it out of the speakerphone. Well, you could set up an audio share from your phone, and then everybody else in your family, if they have Auracast enabled headphones, can connect to the audio tour coming out of your phone using this Android audio sharing functionality. And it doesn't look all that complicated to set up. In fact, if you've ever set up your Android phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, it's very similar to that. You go into the settings, you go to the audio sharing section, and you enable it, and if you want, you give it a password, and on everybody else's phones, they will see that connection available to them, put in the password if you added one, and then they just connect to your phone, and everybody's listening to the same thing at the same time on their own headphones. It sounds amazing, doesn't it? Isn't this the world that we all want to be in? I know it's the world I want to be in. I'm really excited about this. And if I had a Pixel 8 or a Pixel 9, I might be willing to throw the dev preview on my phone just to mess around with this. But I don't. I've still got a Pixel 6 Pro, which I think I'm just going to have to upgrade for me to be able to do any of this stuff once it becomes more widely available. So it's available now. We've got a link to the article over at 9to5google.com. They've got screenshots. They've got directions on how to do this. If you're willing to throw that developer preview on your phone, give this a try. Let us know how it works out for you. We would love to see more information about this. And again, link to it in the show notes. Our other audio story this week, we're going back to Amazon. They are all over the place in the news this week. And that's an update, kind of a big deal, I think. A big update to their Amazon Music Unlimited service. So Amazon Music Unlimited, it is their music streaming service like Spotify or Apple Music, YouTube Music, that same sort of system. But Amazon has lots of services, including Audible, which is by far the easiest and probably the most popular way of listening to audiobooks on a mobile device, because it's super simple. You sign up, and really the way that I think most people are using Audible, it's definitely the way that my family uses Audible, is you sign up for their more expensive service, which is $15 a month, and it gives you one book a month to listen to. You get a credit for a book, and you pick pretty much any book in their catalog, and you keep it forever and listen to it whenever you want. Well, Amazon is sort of incorporating Audible into Amazon Music Unlimited. So here's how it's going to work. If you're an individual subscriber, you get access to the service, and it's sort of like Audible in that you get access to one book a month. The thing that's different about this from Audible is with Audible, you keep the book forever. Even if you cancel your service, if you eventually come back to Audible, your whole library is there waiting for you. You've got it forever. With this service through Amazon Music Unlimited, it's more like a library where you're only allowed to borrow one book a month. You can read it as many times as you want, and you can check out that same book again next month or 6 months from now. But you can only ever have one book in a 1 month period. It's a little bit different. I'm not sure that I think it's a better system, but it's an interesting alternative to the way that Spotify is doing this, because Spotify also gives you access to audiobooks. Their library is smaller than Audible's, but you can listen to more of them in a given month. But the limits are different, because in Spotify, instead of being limited by the number of books that you can read in a given period of time, you're limited to how long you can listen to books in a given month. So with Spotify, you get 15 hours. If you read a book that's 7 hours, cool, grab another book, because you've got another 8 hours that you could listen to. But if you grab The Stand from Stephen King and it's a 48-hour book, well, my friend, it's going to take you a few months. It might take you a few months anyway, it's so long. But with Spotify, you would have to split it up over 4 months to be able to listen to a book that long. With Amazon Music Unlimited, assuming that The Stand is a book that counts as one book and would be in this library available to you, you could listen to it, I don't know, if you found a way to listen to it in a week and just reread it over and over again, you could, but that's the only book you're getting for the month. So I think it just depends on how you use and listen to audiobooks. If you're listening to a lot of different audiobooks, and especially if they're shorter ones, or if you're using these services to like what Spotify works well at is you could use it to try a bunch of books. You could be like, well, my book club, we're voting on these 8 different books. I'm just going to listen to the first chapter of all of them before I decide which book I'm voting for. You could do that with Spotify. It's kind of a weird use case, I'll admit that. But you couldn't do that with the Amazon option because you're only getting the one book. But if your book club picks a 20-hour book, well, you're in good shape with Amazon because you can listen to the whole thing. With Spotify, you're not. You're only getting 15 hours, and then you're either paying for extra credits or maybe buying the book from a different service just to not have to deal with the hassle. So those are the main differences between the two. The other thing that's similar that I think is really interesting is Amazon is doing the same thing that I really disliked about how Spotify implemented the service. If you're on a single user premium subscription, you're fine. It just works. You get it. It's the 15 hours on Spotify. It's the one free book on Amazon. If you're using a family plan on Spotify, only the main account holder gets access to audiobooks at all. And Amazon's doing the exact same thing. And it does make me wonder, are they doing it because, well, Spotify did it, so they can get away with it too, and not have to pay licensing and all of that for as many books? Or is it something about the way audiobooks are licensed to all of these services that causes this sort of limitation in the services under family plans? I'm not sure. I would love to know for sure which of those two it is, or maybe it's something completely different. But it really is interesting that they're both limiting the family subscriptions like that. So unfortunate for sure. My wife and I both love audiobooks, and so we're both kind of hosed by these services. We're a Spotify family plan, and we're not going to pay for individual accounts on these things. That wouldn't make sense either. So there you go. Amazon Music Unlimited subscribers. If you're using that service, definitely check this out. Because if you're listening to this podcast, that means you like podcast, and that means that you'd probably like audiobooks too. If you're a podcast listener and you're not listening to audiobooks, you should give it a try because it's the same sort of experience. You can multitask while listening to audiobooks and enjoy a lot of fiction or nonfiction books, whatever you like. So check them out. And if you don't want to pay for any of them, like Jim mentioned in the listener feedback, download that Libby app and use your library card to get audiobooks or ebooks for free from your library. Okay, how about some gaming news? This one we knew was coming, but it's nice to see it happening. And kind of a kind of a surprise time to be launching this, but I'm not upset by it in the least. Xbox is now giving us the ability to use their cloud game streaming service to stream games that we own. And if you haven't been using Xbox cloud gaming and stuff, you might be a little bit confused about that. Like, what have you been streaming? Well, since the program launched years ago, the only thing that you've been able to stream are games in the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate library. And only some of them. Not every game in Game Pass is even available. Again, licensing. But there are a lot of games that, well, I'm sure everybody likes to play that aren't in Game Pass at all, or are in Game Pass but aren't part of cloud streaming. And so we've purchased them, and we'd still like to be able to play them on the go or from not our Xbox. And that's finally coming to us. You can do this today. Grab your phone, grab your web browser, your tablet, your smart TV, almost anything that you can use Xbox Cloud Gaming on, and open it up and scroll down to the section. There's a new section that's labeled Play Your Games. Now, there are limits, important limits to call out here. It's not every game imaginable. They're not offering every game that's in the Xbox store. That's hundreds, if not thousands of games. And they're not going to dedicate the infrastructure necessary to support streaming that many games. Because I think they basically do dedicate Xbox hardware in the cloud to these games. Because you're connecting to Xbox hardware to play them. So it just launched today. I'm recording this on Tuesday, November 20th. It just launched today. And the catalog of games you can play is about 50 games. And I know what you might be thinking, like 50, that's not very many, but it is a lot of popular games. It is a lot of newer games, but it's definitely not every game. And in fact, there are 3 games that I would want to use this for the most. Final Fantasy VII, not the remake, because that's not on Xbox, the original one that I've mentioned playing briefly. Diablo 4, I want to play that everywhere. And NHL, the games that I play the most. None of those are available currently. None of them are available. Final Fantasy 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are available, but not Final Fantasy VII. No Diablo, no NHL. I'm not entirely surprised by NHL, but I really do hope that Diablo, they own it. It's a Blizzard game. Blizzard is owned by Microsoft. I would love to see Diablo 4 in this list. This list is going to continue to grow. It's not going to stay at 50 games forever. They have to start somewhere. And these are the games they chose. And I think there's 2 games in this list that I own that I could play. I know one of them was The Division 2. Oh, And Final Fantasy XIV is in the list, the Final Fantasy MMO. I've tried it out. I don't want to play it. I don't want to play it on my phone or my Xbox. So we'll keep an eye on it. Like, I expect the experience. I haven't really gotten to use it yet. This launched this afternoon. I expect the experience to be very similar to the regular Xbox cloud gaming experience. It's just different games than what we've been able to play. The one difference of note currently, it only supports playing with a controller. None of these games support the on-screen touch controls. So you're out of luck there. Like, you will need an Xbox controller to play these games. And like, there's no way, like, it'll let you launch it without a controller, but you can't do anything. You cannot get the on-screen touch controls in any of these games, at least not yet. But I imagine they will eventually add that to a lot of games, but it won't ever be all games, most likely. So I'm excited about this. Game Pass Ultimate subscription is still required because it is using that cloud game streaming functionality. So you're going to have to be paying the $20 a month for Xbox Game Pass to be able to use this. But I'm excited. It's nice to see this functionality coming. It does feel like the next evolution in Xbox gaming. The one little caveat to call out here, I mentioned a bunch of different types of devices that you can play this on, your phones, tablets, all of that sort of stuff. You can't do it on an Xbox. And that feels fine to me, right? Because if you have an Xbox, just download the game and play it on your Xbox. And I know for some people, it's not that easy. Like, maybe you don't have a super fast internet connection and these games are huge and that can take a long time. Or maybe you just don't have the storage to hold all of these games. I get it. But I think that if they had to limit how they were launching this program, not supporting Xbox and the Xbox app on the Windows PC, that feels like a smart call to eliminate that from the initial launch. They'll bring it later, I'm sure. All right, how about we save you some money? And let's talk about some of those Black Friday deals, because we're getting close, folks. You got to be snatching these up. Everything I talk about here, we're going to have links to in the show notes. There are some really good deals here. If you want to be getting new streaming devices, new games, new TVs, like, we've got a lot of these things here in the show notes. And I'll call it out here again. Like, this is one of the primary ways that you can help financially support the show. Most of these links are going to be links to Amazon. These are affiliate links. That means that if you click them and you buy anything on Amazon, whether it be these things or something else, presents for your children, we're going to get a cut of that. And it doesn't cost you any extra. So you're going to buy on Amazon anyway. If you click these links before you do it, it helps us out and it doesn't cost you anything. So we really appreciate it if you do that as your way to financially support the show and the DMZ as a whole. Okay, so what are the deals? Now that we've got all of that up front so that you know what's actually, what's going on here. How are we going to save you some money? Well, if you're in the Amazon ecosystem for Fire TV devices, but you're not looking to buy a new TV that we just talked about, maybe you just need another streaming stick for one of your devices, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, it's down to an all-time low price, $32.99. $33 for their high-end 4K streaming stick. That's a pretty great price. Let's move to maybe the Roku ecosystem. So if you want the Roku streaming stick 4K, so basically the same thing, but in the Roku ecosystem, $33, basically the same price. The Roku Express 4K doesn't have quite as many features. It's $29 when it's normally $39. And if you don't need 4K at all, the Roku Express HD is down to $19 when it's normally $29. But maybe you do want a TV. And we talked about those TCLs, but maybe you really just want an OLED. 65-inch Samsung S90C 4K OLED, 4K OLED 65-inch TV, $999. $1,000 for a 65-inch OLED. That's a pretty great price. I'll caveat and say that it is last year's model, but still $1,000 for a 65-inch OLED? Oof. Gotta get on board at that price. All right, but what about our gamers? If you've been a PlayStation person, but you're interested in getting an Xbox, maybe you've really just been holding out before jumping into the newest generation, Xbox Series X, $50 off. You can grab one right now for $448. That sure beats paying $700 for a PlayStation 5 Pro, doesn't it? So yeah, we don't see deals on the Xbox Series X very often. So grab this while you can. If you already have an Xbox, whether it's a Series X or a Series S, and you just could use a little bit more storage, well, Western Digital makes those expansion cards that give you the same performance as the internal solid state drive. You can pick up the 1 terabyte expansion card for what I believe is the lowest price they've ever had these, $99 to double the storage of your Xbox Series X or triple the storage of your Xbox Series S. So definitely look into grabbing that if you want to expand the storage on your Xbox. And then lastly, let's also talk about Switch deals. There are some Switch game deals out there. And the public service announcement that I like to give people about Switch games is the really popular Nintendo published games. They just don't go on sale very often. And they almost never go on major sales. So a lot of the games that are on sale right now, they're $40. And that doesn't seem like that much of a deal when a lot of these games are more than 5 years old at this point. But that's just Nintendo. They won't be available for cheaper. So I know that it can be really frustrating to be like, I'm going to give you $40 for a game that's 5 years old. Yes, you are. If you want it, that's what you're going to pay because it won't get cheaper. So if you're considering any of these games from Nintendo that are on sale right now, just buy them because you're not going to find it cheaper later anyway. So you might as well grab it now. And then, of course, across all three of the console platforms, controllers are on sale. You could probably always use an extra controller or two, especially if you have kids breaking them all the time. They're all on sale. You can grab an Xbox controller for $35. Sure, we're seeing similar sales for PlayStation 5 controllers and for Nintendo Switch controllers too. So grab some of those while you're out there. All right, that's it for our Black Friday deals. And I don't know that we're going to have more next week. You wouldn't have much time to jump on them next week, but those are the big ones. So go out and grab some of these while the prices are so great. So let's finish the show off the way that we always do by talking about what's going on in our entertainment centers. And it's been 2 weeks since we last talked, but I was traveling, so not a lot for me, actually. On the gaming side, I played some Diablo. I played some Call of Duty. Probably played some NHL in there. Yeah, I did. But that's it. Haven't really gotten around to much else since then. In terms of TV, I watched some Lions football, and that's about it. Again, traveling. And then movies. I do have a movie, but it's not a new movie for me. My family loved Twisters. We all saw it in theaters and loved it. And so everyone was really excited to hear that it was on Peacock. So we signed up for a month of Peacock and rewatched Twisters as a family again this weekend. It's a good movie. Is it the greatest movie of all time? No, but it's a good movie that the whole family can enjoy. because it's just like, it's stressful, sure, because it is tornadoes like ripping through towns and there are people dying, but it's not graphic. There's not like tons of bad language or lots of sexual situations or anything like that. Like, this is a movie that you can just sit down with the family, assuming that the family's like probably like 9 and older would be my guess, and just enjoy. It's good. If you're into country music, the soundtrack is really good. So yeah, Twisters, now on Peacock. But that's it for what's going on in my entertainment center. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can do that in a lot of different ways. Again, all of this is over in the show notes at www.thedigitalmediazone.com. We're on social media. Richard is still only on Mastodon. He's Richard Gunther over there. He's the only Richard Gunther on Mastodon. I'm still technically on Twitter at Josh Pollard. So is the website at DigiMediaZone. But you know what? So much of the world is flocking to Blue Sky lately, and I decided to give it a try too. And I'm liking it. It does feel like the old days of Twitter, the days that I really liked being on Twitter, unlike now. So I'm on Blue Sky also. Again, I'm just Josh Pollard over there. Look me up, follow me. I'm still trying to figure out how it all works myself, but definitely give me a follow over there and send me some messages. I would love to continue the conversations there too. But that's going to do it for episode 668. I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.